Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 21. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday. Steelers Nation, Steelers lose 24-20 in Week 3 to the San Francisco 49ers, drop to 0-3 on the season. And Dave, my just quick synopsis of this game, and I think the players really said this as well, just same old story for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. It's too bad you weren't old enough to...
I'm trying to make this day worse, Dave. Doing a good job with it.
Hee-haw, brother. For Friday nights, it was hee-haw, and then I think the Dukes of Hazzard back when I was growing up. Oh, Lord, yeah, it feels like deep, dark depression, excessive misery. Is there a better lyrical line than that, than maybe to describe the feelings of, I guess, Steeler fans throughout the world on this Monday? And boy, we got a lot to get to.
We do, so let's jump into it. We'll start pre-game with the inactive list, and the only reason why I want to mention the inactive list especially is because Donte Moncrief was officially inactive for the first time of the season, so I'm standing on the sideline. That was reported a couple hours before the game. No surprise, but the report was basically Mike Tomlin challenging the receivers during the week to step up and make plays, and in part of that challenge, it meant sitting Moncrief down, who obviously was just a train wreck the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess the big winner in that ended up being Justin Layne, right?
Yeah, or Zach Gentry, depending on how you looked at things.
I mean, because the injury report, I already kind of thought that Zach Gentry was going to get a helmet anyway. I had guessed that. Personally, I'm obviously because of special teams reasons, you could probably use Layne. You wasn't going to dress him with the thought that he was going to get any defensive snaps whatsoever. I kind of thought that they would bench Moncrief, have him dressed though, kind of in case of emergency. That obviously didn't happen. Mike Tomlin sent a message to him and sat him down. I'm fine with that, as a whole there. And he was down, and Justin Layne was up. The other inactives, of course, were, three injured players: Roosevelt Nix, Anthony Chickalow, and Vince Williams. You had Chukwuma Okorafor and Fred Johnson both down. Obviously, Moncrief down. And who am I missing there?
Did you have both linemen, Fred Johnson and Okorafor?
Yeah, Fred Johnson. Bugs.
All right, Isaiah Bugs. Yep, so everything else was standard besides Moncrief being down. Layne, Gentry dressing for the first time. Gentry saw a couple snaps on offense. Layne played some gunner. I think Artie Burns might have gotten benched at gunner late in the game. So that was an active list. Injury report, just one to look at. Mason Rudolph kind of threw a hospital ball to Vance in the first half of that one. McDonald left with a shoulder injury that Tomlin said is still being evaluated. I take it there's no update on his status as of this recording Monday morning.
That is correct. Was that the one that was up high that got his legs taken out from underneath him? And
yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the play he got hurt because he came down pretty hard.
Right, he did come down pretty hard. Now I don't think I saw him back on the field after that. I don't know how big of how big a part McDonald was to be in the game plan. You would have to think, being able to trying to small ball it quite a bit, in this game that he would have been, and same old deal with Vance McDonald, right? I mean, it's hard. He got through most of last season, missed the first game with that back injury, I think, and then played throughout. But and we talked about early, preseason here about the lack of depth at the tight end position there, and how they could ill afford to lose a guy like McDonald, and then you lose him in the first quarter, early second quarter, I guess, right around in there, and it makes a difference there. So you better keep your fingers crossed that he's not down too long.
Yeah, you lost your second best weapon in a game where your offense couldn't move the football to start with, so that only compounded the problem. But all right, let's talk about this game. Again, 24-20 loss, 0-3 on the season. Playoff chances are obviously very, very slim. I think 6 teams that have started 0-3, about 2% have made the playoffs after beginning 0-3. But focusing on the game itself, I mean, here's my 2 thoughts on it. You know, your defense has 5 takeaways. You should be able to win that game. The fact that you can't is just unacceptable and almost unheard of. I mean, the last time that's happened for Steelers Nation was 1981. And to go to the offensive side of the football, just, again, lack of third down conversions. They can't win possession downs. It stalls out drives. It robs them of opportunities. It puts the defense out there time and time again. So that's the big thing for me. And that's what the players said. It's the same story. It's nothing new. The third down offense has been probably the worst in football, probably one of the bottom 5 at best in football through these first 3 weeks. They're converting about 25% of the time. And if you don't convert in possession downs, you're just not going to win in the NFL.
No, you are not. It really is kind of that simple the way you broke it down. If I would have told you on Friday that the Steelers defense recorded 5 takeaways, you probably guarantee me, you probably bet my house that they won that game, right? You know?
They're going to probably hit that magic number of 25.
I was thinking that last night. How many do they have now?
7.
Takeaways?
7.
7. So they, you make up a few right in a hurry there. So they are, let's see, if you multiply. I mean, 3. What are they on pace to get here at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like 35.
Yeah. So, 25 is that magic number that you wrote about there during the preseason there, and they're back on course for that. It just felt like participation trophies once you got a couple field goals there, right? To start with. The good thing is, really, and it's not really that big of a victory there, obviously, that you get your quarterback into the game in the opposing territory there to help get him settled in the game. At least you got 3 easy points right out of the chute there. I wasn't so. A lot of people get bent out of shape right out of the chute with what they deem the play calling there. Look, you're on a script there. You got a young quarterback in a visiting stadium. Like it or not, he was nervous, right out of the chute. I mean, how could he not be? You want to make him as comfortable as possible. There's a couple RPOs early on that we sort of expected there. A lot of safeness right out of the chute, and it just so happened that a lot of those plays were run in opposition territory right there. But, they didn't win or lose the game there in those first couple of possessions.
No, of course not.
But they didn't help themselves, obviously. I mean, you come away with 6 points on 2 turnovers. I immediately thought back to a game a couple years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think it was Landry Jones' first start when the Chiefs, I think, couldn't capitalize on a few things early on there. And you're thinking to yourself, well, they're doing the Steelers a favor and just hanging around. Well, obviously the Chiefs went on to win that game in kind of a lower scoring, but that's kind of the first thing that came to my head there. And then obviously I think games against the Jaguars a couple years ago, wasn't that kind of a similar situation there with kicking field goals early? But you're not going to win a lot of games settling for threes. And I thought as best as he could, kind of sum it up. Bad situation. Mike Tomlin saying, look, the offense and the defense weren't in concert with one another. The Steelers defense was getting turnovers, and the Steelers offense wasn't capitalizing on those and settling for threes. And on the flip side, when the Steelers did turn it over, the 49ers were putting it in the end zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really how you boil this game down, is that the 49ers capitalized on their opportunities with 2 touchdowns off the 2 Steeler turnovers, while the Steelers only had 6 points, 2 field goals off of 5 49ers turnovers. And even beyond that, because 2 of the 49ers turnovers were deep in Steelers territory, so you can't reasonably expect points off of that the way that you could if you're on a short field. But the fact on those 2 turnovers the 49ers had deep in Steelers territory, the Steelers basically went 3 and out after, I think, both of those. I think on the first one they picked up 1 first down, then punted. So they weren't at least able to flip the field, and they just gave the 49ers great field position back. I think on the one drive, ensuing drive, the 49ers started at Pittsburgh's 49. So they couldn't even flip the field in those situations to at least play the field position game. And so that's what it comes down to. Poor on third down, not able to capitalize on the putos, as you talk about. Those are things that Tomlin cited, and that's an easy way to learn and find out that you're going to lose games that you should have won.
On the season, the Steelers' offense is 9 of 35. That's 25.7% on third downs there. And the other thing that I had that kind of stuck out to me here, if I can find my numbers on it.
While you do that, according to their Pro Football Reference, the Steelers being 25% on third down through the first 3 weeks since 1991, as far back as the stats get tracked, that is the worst start they've ever had in the first 3 weeks of a season, being 25% on third down.
Yeah, that'll get you beat.
Yep. And they weren't all 3rd and 15. They were 3rd and 5. There were some 3rd and manageable situations they put themselves in that they just simply could not convert.
Right. Offensive play totals versus the Steelers defense through the first 3 games. You want to talk about a tired because you not being able to possess the football. Mm-hmm. Your defense gets thrown. A lot of people will forget that this was a 6-3 game, Steelers, with 9-something left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Now, granted, did San Francisco help? Was it all, the 5 turnovers and all? Look, I mean, that botch screen that landed up in Watt's arm, they all count. Okay, mm-hmm. They obviously all count. The botch snap,
the fake reverse jet that didn't work.
Right, those kind of things. Hey, it's good to see the Steelers get a few breaks like that.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it.
Definitely take it. But not being able to sustain drives offensively has led to that defense being out on the field a lot through the first 3 games. And, it goes back into what Mike Tomlin said about not being in concert with one another. Here is the offensive play. It's gotten worse by game. If you thought the Patriots were on the field a long time, you haven't seen nothing. 67 plays the Patriots ran, 72 the Seahawks ran, and 73 the San Francisco 49ers ran. So, look, it's not an excuse. You still had to defend that end one last time, and they almost did it. Mm-hmm. The penalty on Mark Barron, which I'm sure we're going to get to here in a little bit, and all. I mean, several times the Steelers defense even shot themselves in the foot there. But let's not forget that this was a 6-3 game, 9:21 left in the third quarter there, and all that said, the Steelers offense had the ball back with the lead, right, with 5-something left, and that you want to talk about an inopportune time to turn the ball over with James Conner putting it down on the ground. That certainly hurt.
Mm-hmm. Reminded me a lot of the Cleveland tie week 1 last year. I don't mean to use this as a blanket excuse because, hey, the defense has to make plays. They're on the field. That's their job. And there's certainly a lot of things they can improve on. But I think certainly that disparity between snap count offense and defense has really gassed and tired out this defense. I mean, look at Seattle last week. It was a 10-7 Steelers lead at halftime. What happens in the second half? Steelers allow 21 points in the second half. What happens this week? It's 6-3 at halftime, 6-3 early third quarter, and the Steelers allow 21 points in the second half because of that snap count. I really believe that Steelers offense averaged a minute 50 per drive on their 13 possessions. And Dave, do you have the Steelers offensive play count through the first 3 weeks? Because you said the defense.
Well, you had 53 yesterday.
Okay, so I want to put the totals to it here.
All right, so I'll read this off to you. 53, and then you had in week 1 against the Patriots, you had 67, and in week 2 against the Seahawks, you had that was a
50 something.
Yeah, that was fewer. It seemed like 56.
All right, so the Steelers defense on the field for 212 plays this year. The offense, 176. Let me put that in the percentage. 212 divided by 388. Steelers defense on the field, 50.
Monday math.
Yeah, just what I want to do after a loss. 55% of the time, the Steelers defense has been on the field this year, and I'm sure the first half it looks even worse. The snap count's been high, and like I said, this offense. And again, I understand that there were the two big plays, the Juju and Deontay Johnson, that are big plays that shorten drives and influence the number, and those are good problems to have because you're scoring, but still. Defense getting on the field quickly. I think there's only been 4. Yeah, I have a stat here. Of the 35 possessions the Steelers have had this year, only 4 of them have lasted longer than 4 or more minutes. I'm guessing that's right around the worst number in football.
And what did I write yesterday? 9 non-touchdown possessions that the Steelers had yesterday were 4 plays or less.
God,
they had,
nine of the.
Yeah, they
only had.
They possessed the ball, 14 possessions?
I think 13. It was either one. I thought I had them written down, but I thought it was 13.
Let's see, 3,
and they scored
6,
on 4 of them.
9, 9 and 4 is 13. Yeah, 13 possessions, and obviously the final one ended on downs, but 9 of those were 4 plays or less.
Yeah, well, that's all the non-scoring ones, or maybe
Right.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Well, the first one was a scoring one, but I think it was a three-play drive. But either way, I mean, the bottom line is they're not possessing the football enough, and that is putting a undue strain on this defense. Which, hey, again, the defense they got to make their plays, but it's hard to blame that unit on this one because they forced 5 turnovers and they took the football away 5 times, even if some of them were sort of gifts. So, like, what more do you want them to do in a situation like that?
Yes, and because of the bodies that you had down hurting in yesterday's game, you ended up having Dupree and Watt play a little bit higher percent of plays than they would normally play. Dupree played 95%. Watt played 91%. You were able to rotate your defensive lineman out a little bit in this one, thankfully, as Hayward played 71% and Tuitt played 66%. Your inside linebackers, however, 100% of the snaps. Devin Bush and Steven Nelson both played 79.
Nelson?
I mean, Mark Barron. He's listed right under.
Don't sully Steven Nelson's good name.
No, he's listed right underneath there. Devin Bush in the play count, but it went here are your guys that played 100% snaps: Fitzpatrick, Edmonds, Bush, Nelson, Mark Barron, and then Joe Hayden went off the field for one snap. I think he dinged his shoulder or something, but he played 78 snaps of a possible 79.
They didn't use dime once. That's interesting. Barron 100% of the snaps. Let's change that once Vince Williams gets back. It's been tough.
Even beyond that, I mean, don't you? I mean, when you get into some of these your good friend Empty struck again. Defensively against the 49ers. How many third downs did they convert out of Empty? I know of at least one.
I always forget to track that initially in my notes. I don't remember. It didn't feel as problematic as the last 2 weeks, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
And what did they do on third downs?
What were they? 6 of 11? I think I don't have let me pull it up here. 6 of 11. Which, to be fair, when we talk about the defense, getting gas, they got to make plays too. They got to get off the field. The third down conversion has not been good enough. 49ers, it's like Seattle. They were able to stay on script, get themselves in third and manageable. The run game was strong. It was consistent, and it wasn't as big play as Seattle, but it was a lot more consistent, I thought, than last week. And so the run defense has definitely got to do a better job too. I don't get why Watt and Dupree played so much. You have Adene. Why do they really hate Ola Adene? They just don't want to give him any sort of playtime.
I don't think they just trust him yet. I think that's the obvious answer.
Only way to trust him is to play him.
Right. And at least he's getting some snaps here. I know it's not a lot, but I think once Chicolo, I think you might see him start getting more snaps as you go along here. I would at least hope you would, I
guess. But you talk about just tiring yourself out. I mean, self-inflicted wounds by playing Watt and Dupree so much end of the game, they're probably gassed.
And, let's face it, I mean, do we expect Chicolo back so quick off of plantar fasciitis,
I don't know.
Probably not this week. I wouldn't think. I mean, we'll see, obviously. But maybe he will start getting a few more snaps here. But, third downs really stuck out. When if you want to boil this down, to the top stat. Here's the thing. The defense still managed to give up the explosive plays in this one too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to have such a lopsided turnover differential, on that. But if you're giving away, that I know people hate talking about it, but that talk stat is pretty on the money. If you're +2 or better, you're going to win 80% of the games, and if you're +1, you're going to have a chance in it. And the 49ers ended up +1 because they had 6 explosive plays of 20 yards or more, while the Steelers had just 2. So there's the differential of 4 there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course the Steelers had let's say it was ended up a differential Steelers +3 in the
Mm-hmm.
turnover differential there, so you end up with a 49ers team +1 in the talk stat, and that helped them offset their turnovers.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to look at, because coming into this one, the 49ers were a top 10 team in explosive plays. Steelers were a bottom 10 team in explosive plays allowed, and that pretty much stayed on track for this one. Now, at least the Steelers' 2 explosive plays were touchdowns to Juju and Deontay Johnson, and they didn't allow the super, plus play, the 40-yard play to the 49ers. But yeah, a lot of chunk plays that just kind of added up over time.
If they did one thing better, it's just none of the chunk plays ended in the end zone.
Yeah, got guys on the ground.
They got guys on the ground, but they still gave up. From the middle of the third quarter on. I mean, how many touchdowns did they give up from that point on?
Yeah. All right. I want to flip to the offense to start, because that's just how I usually like to frame this in my mind. What did you think about Mason Rudolph's debut? I thought it was obviously a really rocky start, but I thought it did get better, and I just kind of liked his competitiveness and toughness and desire to kind of strain and finish that one out better than how it started.
Because I'm old enough to remember, and it means absolutely nothing when you compare the two. I thought his first start was better than Roethlisberger's first start.
Okay, I don't remember it well enough to compare. But Ben was playing in a hurricane in his first career start too.
But well, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it's a better start.
All right.
And here's the thing. Obviously in the first couple of drives you're wanting him to settle in. We saw the RPOs and things like that. Now I went back through already this morning and looked at, if you're the 49ers, what were you going to do defensively in this game? You were going to try to take away the run. You probably felt pretty comfortable about manning up, or zoning up, if you will. In other words, not paying too much attention to one receiver. And you were going to want to see if Mason Rudolph could beat you with his arm, right?
Yep. 100%.
All right. And what did we see the 49ers do on 75%? I got through about 75% of the total runs on the Steelers. They had eight or seven guys in the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
And the Steelers couldn't block it. And I mean, here's the thing: they still had people will still try to boil this thing down to yards per carry stats and all like that. The Steelers still had a 50% run success rate in this game. And if you would have told me before the game that they would have that, I would have taken a 50% run success rate. Now, obviously, in that you would hope there would be maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 runs of 10 yards or longer, and maybe one of those being, an explosive run or 20 yards. We've seen Connor break, 9, 10 of those, 11 of those during his career so far. Those weren't there. You did not really have the big run. You had successful runs. You just did not have big runs. The negative runs, obviously, too many still, and those things put you behind the chains. And with a young quarterback, you cannot have a young quarterback behind the chains. And then you have the old, how many dreaded second down and long runs did we have in this game? Teams should never, unless you're ahead late in the game, be running on second down and long. And I'm trying to pull this up for you right now on second down, and the Steelers.
It didn't feel terrible. It didn't feel too frequent.
And then
there was one in the second quarter, a 2nd and 12 run for 5, set up 3rd and 7. The team did convert.
All right, so you had a 2nd and 5 run. You had a I don't mind 2nd and 2 runs.
You don't like 2nd and 5 runs? I'm okay with that.
I mean,
it's not second. I don't. 2nd and 5 is not 2nd and long.
All right, they had a 2nd and 5. They had a 2nd and 2. They had a 2nd and 12, which is a give up. They had a 2nd and 8, which they gained 9 yards on. That was the Holton end around. They had a 2nd and 6. They had a 2nd and 4, which was a successful run, and then they had a 2nd and 10 run. So on, I guess let's look at these on what 6 yards or more.
I usually kind of view long as 7+.
Okay, well we'll do 7+. 1, 2, 3 of those.
And one of them were successful.
And one of those were successful, and that was a Holton left end.
Yeah. I didn't think it was terrible. I never want to say that the Fietner was conservative. I didn't view it as conservative. I just viewed it as static. And looking back, and I've gone through the tape a little bit, not enough yet for a Monday podcast, but it was a little better than maybe what I initially thought. But I just thought there wasn't a lot of pre-snap motion. There wasn't a lot of window dressing. There wasn't a lot that could change the eyes or the read or the defense and kind of let the 49ers just hone in and be aggressive and attack. And I really thought that was the biggest thing Fietner did wrong Sunday, was just not, just kind of was just too static, too much line up and snap it kind of stuff. And the few times he actually did motion stuff and had some window dressing, the offense moved a little bit. So I just didn't see enough of that from Fietner and Rudolph's first start.
Yeah, it just felt like they kind of kept him in a shell too long.
Yeah. And I get it because it's a quarterback. You're going from Ben to Rudolph, and you can't run the same offense, but give your guy a chance. I mean, this isn't 2004 anymore. 2019, quarterbacks can make plays.
And that's exactly what I tweeted at one point, Randy. This is not 2004. And also you don't have the defense to play 2004 football like Roethlisberger did here. I'm trying to find out the sort the throws here by Rudolph and distance past the line of scrimmage. He had, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 throws that did not even travel more than 4 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. The 49ers wanted to keep it underneath. They knew that the Steelers couldn't move the ball in 10, 12 play drives, so they said, let's keep it underneath, force these guys to try to run these extended drives that they just can't do. And for the most part, it worked.
How many total pass attempts did Rudolph have?
Let me pull it up. 27 attempts.
14 of those, the football traveled 1 or less yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, a lot of screens, a lot of RPOs.
Which I don't mind the RPOs early, okay, which they did. You get the kids settled in, easy reads, kind of like that. But there got a point where, and they finally did. It was probably 2 series too late. You took the shot down the left side to, who was that? Washington was the first one. That was a little long.
The PI?
No.
Or
The very first deep throw down the left sideline that was slightly overthrown. He had him, but do you remember that one?
It's not coming to mind. I believe you. I can't visualize it right now.
I can't remember if it was Johnson or Washington or not. But
I think it was Deontay Johnson. Yeah, it was Johnson, not Washington.
Okay, just let him just a little bit. He had him though. Until he starts hitting these intermediate passes and these deeper passes against these 7 and 8 men box. And look, I don't know. We'll have to go back and listen to it more intently, to kind of the audio to see if we can pick it up or whatnot. It didn't seem like he had a lot of liberty with a lot of checks there, right?
Yeah, which was expected.
Right.
He even admitted it.
Right. Sooner or later, you're going to have to start relinquishing some of that. You're going to have to start letting him trust what he sees, allowing him to call a couple plays in the huddle to have some things to check to. It just felt like him seeing some of those boxes that he saw. He didn't have the option to unless it was an RPO to run a different play. Correct?
I mean, I don't know that for sure, but that's
we don't know that.
Felt.
I mean,
yeah.
that's the way it felt.
Yeah. I agree.
And on the flip side, you see the 49ers, and it was no surprise, they do a fantastic job with sort of some of those orbit motions and double play actions, and the Steelers linebackers are all sucked in. How many times did you truly see the 49ers linebackers get sucked in?
Never.
Never really. Yeah, on most of it. Now, once they did start opening it up, a little bit, you started to see some things happen. You obviously had the pass interference call that kind of got things started. Then even the Juju play. I mean, a nice levels concept finally, and well-placed ball to Juju, and then you let him do what he does, and that's yak it up, and he got a lot of yak on that play. At that point, when that happened, what were you feeling at that point?
Just grateful to get a positive play on offense. Like, I wasn't thinking about the big picture. I just was happy that Steelers took the lead and had a big play. Because I knew the only way this offense was going to be able to move the ball was by chunk plays. They weren't going to be 10, 15 play drives where they were going to be crisp and efficient.
And how did even a Roethlisberger offense survive? Chunk plays, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but they could get their way down the field,
and they convert third downs too.
Yeah. So my point is that, and that's still going to be true going forward, as this offense only seems to be successful when it can hit the big 50-plus yard play or 40-plus yard play.
The Juju play was obviously big, and then and I think you broke it down this morning on Steelers Depot and all. Being able to hit that home run ball to Johnson. As well. If you want any kind of, is it too early to maybe hit a positive here or no?
No, hit me. I need something to smile about.
Might not be much of a consolation, but Mason Rudolph did not shrink as the game got bigger. After the 49ers took the first lead in the third quarter, Mason was 6 of 11 for 134 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Yeah, I thought it was tough and competitive throughout, like I said at the top. The issue with Rudolph, though, is that I think on the deep ball, obviously, he does not possess a great arm in terms of quote-unquote arm talent, but I think his accuracy and ball placement are good. But he is conservative in the sense of he won't take the shot unless it's absolutely there, whereas Ben was a little more risky and would kind of throw it into a tight window, trust his arm, trust his receiver to make a play. So he got that single high look, he moved the safety, he threw it deep, great. But if these teams want to play basically too high and just take away the deep ball, Rudolph's never going to even test it, and that's why you're going to get this offense. It's always dink and dunk and everything underneath. So Rudolph did that in camp, and he even talked about, I wanted to take deep shots, but the way their defense is playing, it's just not there, so I'm just throwing it underneath, and that's why his yards per attempt was the lowest of the 4 quarterbacks. So that's the one issue with Rudolph, is that there will be times where you have to fit it into a tight window, because that's the NFL. And obviously, you want to be smart, make good decisions, and pick and choose your spots, but basically, defenses are dictating the vertical element of the Steelers offense right now. If they want to play too high and just take away the deep ball, Rudolph will never test it, and that's got to change.
Well, I mean, have we even seen him take a hole shot yet in the snaps that he's taken against the cover 2 hole shot yet? I don't know if he's even faced that. I mean, I'll have to look. I can't think of an instance where it was possibly there and he just didn't. He decided against it. Can you? No. And what else have we not seen really? Back shoulder throws, right? To the sideline. Those are all kind of things that kind of help you beat the beat some coverages at time, especially some man stuff, or some of those stop routes or what, some of those curls back and all like that. You're gonna have to be able to work off coverage. You're going to have to learn to be able to take what they give you in the off coverage, whether it be, look, he ran a lot of that 7 and 12 yard outs to James Washington against off coverage at Oklahoma State. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to mix in some of the back shoulder stuff in there, and they're going to have to do a better job of scheming up when they do see some cover 2 stuff to be able to take advantage of some of those hole shots, and until he starts hitting those kind of throws, I mean, it's one thing to just I got you 1-on-1, I'm going to beat you up over the top, but you got to have those other throws. You got to have those. You gotta have those levels throw, make him be able to go through the progressions like he did on the Juju throw as well too. And then he did miss the play that McDonald was injured on. He's got to make that throw, right?
Yeah, he throws everything a little high. Even just some of the simple throws end up being high. The one thing this offense has to do schematically is probably attack the middle of the field. I mean, outside the Juju touchdown, how many big plays have they gotten? Not even just touchdowns, but just big plays over the middle of the field. That might be the only one. I can't think of any other one of the entire season, not just even yesterday.
Well, he's only played the.
Well, I'm saying the offense in general, just all 3 weeks, not even just Rudolph yesterday. But how many big plays of this 20-plus yard plays over the middle of the field has his offense gotten?
Well, yeah, I mean, not many of them at all. So, yeah, you're going to have to be able to look. You're going to have to out of bunch too. These receivers are not getting separation on top of it. So that hurts. These guys are not winning, and in order to combat that, you're going to probably have to run more stuff out of the bunch. And you're going to have to run some switch releases off of that kind of stuff to get these guys to free releases, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You had, I think, Deontay Johnson on or some mesh stuff. You're going to have to start being more precise on this mesh stuff, right? Which he should be able to hit.
Yeah, these routes just can't be independent of each other. They have to all work together. That can be done in a variety of different ways, but you just can't expect everyone to run their route and win their matchup because it's just not happening, not consistently enough.
What good is Ryan Switzer doing on this team right now?
Yeah, I get that question asked a lot. I mean, it's kind of near the bottom of my concerns right now because he's not really even playing. So point taken on the question that you're asking. They rotated him out a lot, though. He was like getting every other kick return with Johnny Holton. He was the punt returner, though, after losing the rep last week.
Yeah, and
I mean, you guys, you know my thoughts. I'm bringing Eli Rogers back. I said that last week. I thought they were going to bring him back. He was in the building, but apparently just to say hello. If it was me, Eli Rogers would have been a Steeler this past Sunday. He would have played.
I felt as the game went along, they should have probably spread him out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Spread the defense out a little bit more. Grimble offers you nothing really offensively. What did he have? 2 targets. It didn't even, Zach Gentry only played just a handful of snaps. Didn't get a target there. The screen's a little bit slow developing. It feels like just ever since it feels like the whole timing's been off with that. Through the first 3 games with the running back screens. How come you can't get the football in the hands of Jalen Samuels the entire game?
Well, he barely played. How many snaps? Do you have a snap count on him? It had to have been under 5.
No, he actually played more than that. He played like 14 snaps, Alex.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. He didn't touch the ball then.
That's what I said. 0 touches. I mean, can't you do a better job of 14 snaps for Jalen Samuels? 0 touches. Where's all that pony stuff, huh?
Yeah, they ran it at least once early in the game, but Benny Snell was getting the touches over Samuels. Yeah, weird that Samuels. I mean, you don't even have to give Samuels the ball in the backfield, but flex him out. I mean, he's kind of one of your better receivers right now. Get him on a linebacker.
And didn't they supposedly do that quite a bit? During camp.
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time.
And I imagine Rudolph was in there for some of that, right?
I'm sure.
Randy's got to take the training wheels off of him now. Look, you're 0-3.
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
You're 0-3 now. You want to evaluate the damn quarterback? Evaluate the damn quarterback. Okay?
Right.
He has got 1.5 games underneath his belt now. He's over it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see what he can do. Open it up. He's a smart kid.
Sure. He was drafted to be the heir, so play it like he is. And again, this isn't 2004. I mean, you got a game where Daniel Jones makes his first career start with the Giants, has a great game, takes charge, has zone reads, carrying in for touchdowns. You got second-year players like Patrick Mahomes, last year in his first starting year where he's opened things up and allowed to play within the structure of the offense and make big plays. You got Baker Mayfield as a rookie last year, able to do his thing. So, rookie quarterbacks don't get coddled anymore. They're out there, and obviously Rudolph's not a rookie. He's in his second year, so he's got the experience under his belt. So you can't have the excuse of solely, well, he's a young guy, we got to protect him, doesn't fly in today's NFL the way it might have, 2 decades ago.
And look, he had a really stupid decision on his part on that interception.
Yeah, there was some pressure, I get that, but yeah, you can't make that throw.
I mean, so, and he'll learn, like I said in the podcast last week, he's going to make some mistakes. You just hope they're not as ugly of mistakes as that.
Mm-hmm.
That cost you 7 points, right?
Yeah, he can't be scared of making mistakes because they are going to happen, and Randy Fichtner can't be scared of play calls that may lead to mistakes because he's got to let Rudolph figure this out.
Right. You got to start letting him trust what he sees. That's why I go back to you're going to have to start putting a few more checks in there. You're going to have to start complicating this offense a little bit.
Yeah, and again, more stuff pre-snap. Again, 27th in pre-snap motion heading into Sunday's game. I don't know, where they're at now, but they're probably not much higher. You got to watch the 49ers work. All the stuff they do pre-snap and the way they're able to use one play to set up another. And I know the Steelers do a little bit of that, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough right now, especially for an offense that is struggling as much as it is. If they were having success, then fine, be static. But when you're struggling this much being static with a young quarterback, you got to add some wrinkles.
Yes, you do. And, once again, the running game, obviously not where you want it to be, but they 50% success rates, right? I mean,
well, they're not running the ball enough to. I mean, what is that? How many successful runs did they have? 6?
9 of 18.
9 of 18.
And now, of course, a couple of those.
Is that counting Rudolph?
No, that's that was just the running back and wide receiver runs, I think. Hold on here. They had, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 21 total runs, and Rudolph had 4 scrambles, right? So, 9 of 18 successful runs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was good. I mean, yeah, Connor ran hard. I mean, had he not had that fumble, it's just the whole how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln thing. But he ran hard before that fumble. And I thought he was able to create and had a decent game before, obviously, what happened in the fourth quarter on that play.
Now, speaking of that play, if he doesn't fumble, I mean, I know it's impossible to kind of guess this out, but let's see. It was 1st and 10 at the Steelers 24, coming off of a successful 2nd and 5 run. I mean, you had 2 back-to-back successful runs late in the game. All right, so in a drive that you really needed a 4-minute offense, right? To really you needed a 6:49 offense.
Yeah, plus Seattle last week.
In that, but you get the ball back off of the fumble, and then you go run, successful, and then you try to run again to right in. And at that time, it's 5:36 left in the game. If he doesn't fumble there and he even gets negative 2 yards, where's your mindset at the end game there? I mean,
my mindset.
I thought they had a good chance. I thought they were going to win the game. I got to admit, I thought they were going to win the game after going run success when they got the ball back. I thought, okay, at worst case, put some runs together, get a little bit of field position here, maybe pick up a first down, and then punt it deep and make them go the whole field for the win.
Yeah, I really wasn't thinking about any of that stuff, but
at worst I was thinking overtime.
Okay, so you were multiple steps ahead of me. All I know is that offense would not have played the ball control that Seattle did and closed out the game, so the 49ers would have gotten the ball back, and I don't know if the defense still would have stopped them, just being tired at the end of that game.
Let's see. What did you think about the final kind of sequence there when they had the chance? 3rd and 11. You think that you're off the field. I didn't see the flag initially.
On the Barron call?
Right, I didn't see the flag initially.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was the right call, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was the right call. He grabbed him, he hooked him.
Barron tried to say he ran up into me, and okay, whatever. But you got to be smarter in that situation there. And I mean that's starting. They kick a field goal there, right? I mean, if you don't give them that play.
Well, one last thing with the offense, and I'm going to go to the defense. The offensive line, we got to talk about the O-line. The second I thought was pretty poor. Villanueva struggled again. I thought Foster's looking pretty poor in pass protection this year. Fowler potentially got beat for a sack. He did get beat, but I don't know if Rudolph got too much depth on the play. Not good enough. I mean, obviously, they're part of the issues too.
They are part of the issue, but that to me is not what. Look, I mean, people are saying that this team's hurting Mike Munchak's a reason. No, it's not. Go back to last year and run success rates and all with this team. Not having Mike Munchak is not why this team is 0-3. It's not even half not even 1/8 of the reason why that is. Filer, I'll have to, obviously, when we get the all 22, hopefully later tonight, can start going back through this thing, take a closer look into who did what. But I thought Filer had a miserable game at first glance there.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about it more in the scope of pass protection, where I thought it would be better. It was decent against Seattle. It was pretty poor against New England. Really having trouble with their stunts in games. Obviously, we'll have to look at the all-22 from this one, but I didn't. Obviously, at first glance, I didn't think it was. The first half seemed okay, but the second half it really seemed to kind of start falling apart. They started to pin their ears back, and guys like Bosa and Ford started getting really good pressure.
Well, I think I think you hit on it too. I mean, you're putting yourself in situations too, in some of these third down situations where you let these pass rushers just get after you too. So
yeah, but it happened last year. This offense line is good enough to be able to handle. I mean, there was that one sack. I think it was a sack that Rudolph took where the whole left line collapsed. I mean, there were 3 guys that met Rudolph at the quarterback. I mean, it was just stuff that's uncommon to see from this O-line.
Yeah, and I think that was in the opponent's end of the field, was it not?
I think. I can't quite remember. I just remember the Villanueva got beat to the outside. Foster allowed some penetration inside. A third guy came in. It was just I'll have to look at it, but it just not. Maybe they're not the sole reason, the number one reason why this offense has struggled, but they're not. I don't know if they're doing it a lot of favors either.
Well, look, I mean, it all goes together there.
Sure. I mean, the offensive line sets the tone for this thing. We'll look at it though, but I did want to point that out because there were like you said, Filer probably didn't play well. Villanueva I didn't think played well. Foster I didn't think had a great game in pass protection. We'll see how Bouncy and the Casher did, but I want to point out that group too.
How many sacks did they take though? I mean,
2.
2 in total.
Yeah, but there was a good deal of pressure.
All right, we're to defense.
Yeah, and again, five takeaways. Doesn't mean they played a perfect game, but you had 5 takeaways. Minka Fitzpatrick makes his presence known immediately with 2 first-half turnovers, the interception capitalizing off the Dupree pressure and the Hayden tip, and then forced the fumble the second time. He now has as many turnovers created as the Steelers safeties did all of last season. So far, good return on investment on that trade.
And make sure you give Hayden plenty of credit on that interception.
And Dupree had the pressure. I do want to point out Dupree had pressure.
And Dupree forced that thing to come out a little bit earlier. Hayden did a great job of breaking on that route right away and being there right, to contest the catch. And look, props to Minka Fitzpatrick because any other guy in that secondary probably does not make that. He does have good ball skills, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, and a quick that took a very quick reaction time because he was right to, if you're looking at that play from behind, he was right to the right and what, like 3 or 4 yards behind that, and that ball tipped quick. So I don't want to take anything, I don't want to totally dismiss what Minka did on that play, but make sure that credit goes to Joe Hayden, on that. Now, obviously, that forced fumble by Minka went very low, and that was a great hit, a great way to force that football out. And yeah, you're right. You're thinking, boy, I bet Kevin Colbert's got a smile on his face right now. After that second turnover takes place there. Now Minka did have, and it was kind of a bogus call that
roughing the
passer call on him, but you got to be careful there, right?
Yeah, they didn't quite anchor him down the way that Tomlin said. He played around the line of scrimmage a lot, and he blitzed, I think, 7 times. I have in my charting right now. So
and I think I put that on Twitter or on this podcast too, that they wasn't going to be as anchored down as many. He wasn't just going to stay back there and 12 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage all game. So that's the good news is you can get a guy to come in that quickly, and be able to use them as much as you did in that game and have the success that you had with him on top of it. Now, one would think that he'll only get more comfortable as time goes on here, right? And you'll be able to do a little bit even more with them moving forward there. So, but the fact of the matter is still, they gave up 6 explosive plays. What did I say? 6 or 7 explosive plays on defense here. That stuff's got to stop. That Kyle Juszczyk, boy, that's a heck of a player, as is that George Kittle. But you're going to face good players like that moving forward here, and you got to be able to stop those over routes and getting caught up. Boy, they froze those Steelers linebackers more than once on several of those deeper throws there.
Yeah, again, they have an identity on offense. They use one play to set up another. All their plays look alike, so it's hard to tell the difference. What's play action, what's their inside zone scheme, and all that stuff. They really hit their plays over the middle of the field. Mark Barron just looks bad. I mean, I don't know who's been a worse signing. I mean, I guess Moncrief's been worse than Barron, but Barron just seems to be a liability for this team. And that was my concern, is that, how was he in coverage? We had that conversation. Is he going to be a dime backer? I mean, that was shut down pretty quickly. The guy just can't function in space, and he's getting attacked the same way linebackers last year got attacked.
You probably need to start getting him off the field in some of those third down situations,
Yeah, did the 49ers even have, how many third and longs did they have, though, even yesterday?
Hold on a minute, and I'll sort this out for you here.
Usually they've been playing dime in like third and maybe 6 plus. I mean, they had the 3rd and 11, the penalty, so that might have been a good time to have Barron off the field in hindsight. But the 49ers were able to stay on schedule so much, they probably didn't have a lot of 3rd and 7 plus, I'm guessing.
All right. They had a 3rd and 14, and there was a penalty on that one. That was the Devin Bush. That was a pass deep middle to Richie James for 16. Penalty on Bush, illegal use of the hands declined. So they gave that one up.
That was the first drive.
Right. Let's see. No, that was the San Francisco second drive. And on that second drive as well, too, a 3rd and 15. They did not convert that, though. What are you asking? The total number of 3rd and what?
Yeah, how many 3rd and 7 pluses did they have?
All right, 3rd and 7 pluses. They had...
We're looking at least 3.
4, 5, 6, 7 of them, Alex.
7 of them. And Barron never came off the field.
I
mean, I have to look at personnel groupings that the 49ers had, but yeah.
Couldn't you put, who would you want out there? Sutton?
Sutton's your dime guy, yeah. I'll have to look at it. I mean, I don't want to say the Barron's always not responsible for all those plays, but that's curious. I know the 49ers are heavier personnel type team. I'll say this.
And one of those third, and they passed on 3, 4. They passed on 4 of those plays. One of them was probably going to be a pass. That was that aborted play. That's a shame that Watt ended up getting that one. That was the bad. No, that wasn't a bad snap. What was the one recovered by Watt? Which one was that?
The jet motion where there was a poor exchange.
Okay, all right.
I will say this though: once Vince Williams gets back, I mean, I'm phasing Barron out of this thing as much as possible.
Well, I mean, how much more do you win by having Vince Williams on the field in some of those third?
I think Vince is a smarter player. I think he's a more aware player. And honestly, I don't like to accuse players of dogging it, but Barron's effort didn't seem particularly great either. And I know Vince is going to give high effort every single play.
Yeah, I don't know if I've gone that deep into yesterday's game.
Yeah, but yeah.
What led you to that off of just one time through with Barron?
Yeah,
he obviously didn't play well. I mean,
yeah, just some of the body language, even on the use check.
That's not result biased, is it?
I'm sure. I'm trying to explain it. Some of the body language he showed him in the use check play, he's not really running super hard behind it. He's not touching use check down to make sure that he is down at the end of that play. Bush actually had to come flying in to touch him up and just to make sure. Like Edmonds hit him and he was down, but you don't know that for sure the first time through. So it's just some of that stuff where he's not seeming like he's finishing the play and straining to the end of the play that I would like to see.
I guess here's the thing too. What did I just tell you? There was seven of those plays.
Of 3rd and 7 plus, yes.
3rd and 7 plus, and technically just 2 of those were successful, but double technically one of those was the Barron penalty at the end, so that makes that one successful. So 3 of those were successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the defense has to get off the field too. But, I mean, again, they create 5 turnovers. You get the Watt interception, the Minka 2 takeaways. Devin Bush being ball aware, having 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, the run defense. The big thing for me, though, was just the run defense wasn't good enough. They started getting gash, and some of that may be related to tired legs and all that stuff. But the last 2 weeks, the Seattle and San Francisco have clear identities of teams that need to run the football to be successful, and I think both teams have done that well enough against Pittsburgh to stay on script and be able to move the ball effectively, to run the ball late, and that just can't happen. That's uncharacteristic of a Steelers defense.
What would you think the 49ers run success rate was in this game?
I'm guessing it was around 50% too, like Pittsburgh.
How many total runs did they have? And I guess should we take the Garoppolo runs out of it or no?
Yeah, none of those were design runs. So just give me. Now Jeff Wilson's numbers may have skewed things a little bit. I mean, he did have 2 touchdowns, so those are successful runs. But I know just Mossad and Breida, I mean, they averaged 5.5 yards a pop, I think. So they had to have had successful runs, and they didn't have any 50-yard plays that skewed that either.
17 yeses. With one of those being a Garoppolo. So 16 yeses with one of those being Garoppolo.
16 yeses?
Yeah, 16 yeses means successes.
Okay, and how many, what's the percentage? How many total runs?
Let's see. You had 26 by the running backs, and 8 more makes it 34 total.
So, would you say 16 and 34? So that's 47%.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they ran hard. I mean, those are some good backs, and Breida and Moss are guys that create. Breida especially, great lateral mobility. I didn't think the tackling was bad. I mean, they got guys on the ground, but at the first level, they were kind of getting some gaps and able to make some plays.
Plus, they had a 19-yard run, right, and a 10-yard run. They had, the Steelers did a better job overall of kind of bottling that up. Now, the two of those successful runs were, of course, touchdowns by Wilson. Boy, to have him in a touchdown-only league, whew.
Yeah, counter Trey on both of those plays.
So 2 of the successful runs right there. 19-yard run, I'm assuming that was successful, as was the 10-yard run. There, and then didn't Garoppolo, weren't those all scrambles, I think, on Garoppolo?
Yeah, I don't think any of those were by design. But yeah, the 49ers O-line just seemed to win, especially late in that game. In the second half, they were getting a good push, and 49ers run game got going.
What do you think about that George Kittle?
I mean, good player. I mean, they didn't allow any big plays off of him. I'm looking at his stats, 6 for 57. I mean, if you told me that, prior to Sunday's game, that would be a stat line, I would take that. Longer 12, no touchdowns. I mean, great player, but they bottle him up, well enough.
Right. And look, I mean, all this damage was done after 9:21 in the third quarter.
Yeah, it's the same story. It's the same story as last week.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a little bit bigger lead in there, you start dictating a little bit more what they start doing at that 9:21 part, right? I mean, they were able to stay fully within what they wanted to do, their entire game plan. Throughout the game.
That's a great point. I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, if you get a lead early, you force this team to throw it. They can't do some of their window dressing in the run game
you take play action out of it a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, if you go up on these guys, against a run-heavy team or run-identified team, sure. And so, yeah, I mean, getting those only 6 points off turnovers hurts you all the more.
It was a winnable game, however, unfortunately. I mean, it'd be interesting. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see how this game would have played out had Connor not put the ball on the ground. What are you doing? What are you doing next week, Alex? Look, I mean, if you're going to sit down a guy like Moncrief for drops, and especially one of those drops leading to an interception that turned into 7, and you have a guy like Connor now, who unfortunately is starting to make a little bit of habit of this. Putting the ball on the ground, that leading to the game-winning touchdown there. I mean, I'm not saying bench him and make him inactive, but do you probably throw Samuels or Benny Snell out there at least to start the game Monday night against the Bengals?
No, I wouldn't. Moncrief got a second chance. He didn't get benched for that opener when he had all the drops. It took another repeat performance. So if it happens to Connor again, it may change the equation. But I think Tomlin gives second chances, so I would operate Connor like normal.
I'm not saying bench him entirely. I'm just saying you don't send him out there for that first series is what I'm saying.
Well, Moncrief was out there for the first series last week against Seattle.
Ugly fumble. And
yeah.
I didn't like how he. I gotta be honest with you. I watched the Connor post game stuff too. I didn't like the way he handled that.
How did he handle it? I didn't hear it.
He just very short answers. Very. I just didn't like his body language or his demeanor.
Well, I'm sure he's mad. I'm sure he's upset.
Sure. I would expect him to,
So
but
I can understand
blow
that.
everybody off. I mean, I just didn't like.
He spoke to the media. I mean, Moncrief didn't even
sure.
talk to the media last week. So he faced the music briefly. I mean, I'm fine with that. That's the least of my concerns.
I didn't like kind of his body language there. But look, he's a good running back. Okay, he runs hard. He ran hard yesterday. You just can't put the football on the ground in those situations.
What are his stats for the year? I'm just overall numbers, and not to put all the blame on him because of it, but 34 carries, 97. He's not even at 100 yards in 3 games. 34 carries, 97 yards, 2.9 per carry.
Successful run rate's higher though. So
yeah.
You make sure you're looking at look. You can only on a goal line run, you can only have if it's a goal to go from the 1, how many yards can he get on that play?
Oh, I know. He's only got 1 touchdown though. This isn't
right.
What he was doing last year.
What I'm saying, if you look at his successful runs as a whole, I mean they're not bad. I mean
I get that.
You obviously would like to see less negative plays and more of the 10-yard varieties. One thing that he was doing early in the season, I think last year through the first 8 games, is he had a handful of those explosive runs, which is something that the team never got out of Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
What's
the longest run by Steelers running back through?
It has
Connor's
to be
longest
Snell,
14.
right? Snell.
Oh yeah, Snell's 23. Yeah.
23. That has to be it.
Yeah, that's it. And then Connor's long is 14, and Samuel's long is similar. I can look at it right now.
Well, he didn't tell you. I had to look at the game yesterday because he didn't touch him.
Yeah, he's only got 5 carries this year. He's got a long as 7. Jalen Samuels does. So not enough explosive plays across the board. 2 yesterday. They came into this game bottom of the league, I think, in explosive plays near the bottom of the league, and but that's how this offense has to function right now. They got to create big plays. They are not efficient enough to march down the field with precision and converting third downs and all that stuff. So that's the only way this offense has success, if they can hit that one big play.
Until you start until Rudolph gains the respect, past 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, you're gonna see a lot of that stuff. You're going to see a lot of players in the box daring you, thinking that they just going to shut you down, get you to third downs, and get off the field.
Mm-hmm. And regardless of the game plan, this offense can't convert on third downs. They just will have these problems again and again. I can't stress enough how big the failure on third downs have hindered this offense.
No team's going to win converting 25%.
Well, sure. No, yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure everyone knows how bad it is, because it is. We're talking right now historically bad stuff.
At one time it was 0 for 7 or 8 on third downs, wasn't it? When did they convert their first third down in this game?
I think their 6th one, I want to say. I think they were over 5 to start, and they hit the 6th one, I want to say.
I mean, what was halftime stats on third down conversions here?
I think it was 1 for 6. I think it was like the first 2 weeks. So they were 1 and 6 because they had the graphic up.
They were actually 2 for 8 at halftime.
Okay, yeah, and then they finished it.
And I guess they start 0 for 6, and then they converted their last 2 third downs of the first half. Isn't that how it went?
That might be right. That sounds about right.
And
either way, it's bad. I don't care how you ever slice it. It's terrible.
And by their own, a lot of them shooting themselves in the foot. 49ers only had 4 third down opportunities but they ran a lot of plays,
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't lopsided at halftime. It was 32-29 in total offensive plays at halftime. So the ineptitude of that offense coming out in that second half, and not, once again, you're not getting when did all 4 of those turnovers came in? When did
in the first half?
All of them come in the first half? I know 4 of them.
No, the 4 of them. Yeah, it was like Tampa Bay last year. You had 4 first half turnovers. The 5th one came in the second.
Right.
half.
So ineptitude of that offense and not forcing the turnovers in the second half. Although you're not expecting to get more than 4 in a game like that. Yeah, I mean, look at it, and your defense tires out, and yeah.
Yeah, and not to rewrite the history here with the turnover game, but I'm sure 49er fans are saying, hey, if we don't have so many unforced errors, they had a botched fumble.
Sure, we blow them out.
Yeah, we blow them out. I mean, if we don't have those turnovers, we're winning this one whatever the score is, probably 30 to 14 or something like that. 30 to 10.
Sure. That's not that close of a game yesterday if they don't get those turnovers.
Right, and being gifted a couple of those turnovers are something you can't expect every single week. So.
Exactly. You gotta force. And how many actual forced turnovers did they have? The Hayden one was obviously one. The Fitzpatrick forced fumble was obviously a forced one. The other three though, I don't know. They're unforced, right?
Yeah, the interception by Watt was off their back. And so again, I'm happy. I'll take it any way you can get it. I'm not mad about it, but I'm just trying to say in the 49ers' mind, they're saying, man, we screwed up so much. We could have won this one by. So I know it was a close game, but it could have easily been not a close game if the 49ers just don't play, junior high football for half the time.
Okay, where else are we? Red zone, neither team. Look, the Steelers' defense hasn't been bad. Let's see. First half was 0 for 1 for the Steelers, 0 for 2. What 49ers made it up for it, I think, in the second half in red zone, didn't they?
But they finished 2 of 4 or something?
What did they finish at? Red zone. Where is it? 3 of 6.
Yeah. I mean, it's not been terrible. New England was 0-3 in the opener. I don't know what Seattle did week 2. They've made a couple stops, but some of those key stops, obviously the fourth quarter, the go-ahead one, you wanted to get a stop there, and you didn't.
Time of possession, 23-43 for the Steelers, 36-17 for the 49ers.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's horrific.
Hey, Boswell's kicking well.
Yeah, I was going to say, special teams, Barry punted well, 52-yard average. That's a career best for Jordan Berry on punts, minimum at least 4 punts in the game, 52 yards, and Boswell was solid. Return game, really no splash, but, what else is new?
Okay, any other bows you'd like to, before we get the all 22 to suck on for a little while?
Okay, here's a phrase. No, that's basically all I had. Again, just the ineptitude on possession downs is the biggest issue for this offense right now. Until they get that figured out, this offense won't go anywhere.
What would you like to see them do offensively? I mean, pretty much what we talked about, right? Take the training wheels off a little bit.
Yeah, more pre-snap motion, more window dressing. More
levels concept. Let's get some dagger stuff in there. Let's work the middle of the field.
Yeah, work the middle of the field, get it vertical, and just be efficient too. I mean, Rudolph obviously did not play well. At what point he was 6 of 15 for 40 yards? I mean, something like that. 8 of 15.
Yeah, he looked like he was trying to aim it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, he had a third down to Deontay Johnson that was wide right. So they had their chances to convert too. It wasn't all schematic.
The miss to McDonald.
Yeah. So it was not all schematic, but I don't think the scheme, it didn't do Rudolph or this offense any favors.
Well, once they open it up a little bit, you start to see him, and that's what they have to do with him now. Like I said, you're 0-3. Okay, odds are not good regardless. So I mean, evaluate the quarterback, man. I mean, see what he's comfortable doing, see what he can do at this point.
Sure. But I will say, I mean, this is a long season. You're gonna have a lot of time to look at Rudolph, so there'll be time to evolve this thing too.
All right. If there's any consolation. And at this point, if you have not jumped out of your office window or ran your car into the ditch, which hopefully you have done neither of those, the entire AFC North lost lost on Sunday there. So the AFC North as a whole is 3-9. Woo-hoo!
Baltimore's responsible for 2 of those.
2 of those wins. Baltimore has. Cleveland, of course, has 1. Cleveland, look, they had a chance to win that thing against the Rams, and they let that thing slip away. The Bengals had a chance, really, to stay on top of the Bills. They couldn't. The Steelers obviously had a chance to win that game late as well too.
Is that the motto of the AFC North? AFC North. Hey, we're close.
We're almost there. We almost have wins, more wins. But look, I mean, the AFC North's not good. Okay, I think you saw what can happen to the Ravens when they play a pretty damn decent team. Look, Lamar Jackson got away with several throws.
Yeah.
In that game. You know who had the highest quarterback rating out of the AFC North quarterbacks yesterday, Alex?
Oh my God, I don't. I don't know. I mean, Ben.
Mason Rudolph.
Did he?
Yeah, Mason Rudolph had the highest quarterback rating of the four AFC North quarterbacks yesterday. He had the most touchdown passes too.
Hmm.
So
Well, he's got to thank Juju for that one, because I mean, Juju after the
sure,
catch,
tons of yak. I mean, look look at the long touchdowns Juju's had over the years. I mean, don't just put this specific on Rudolph being a beneficiary of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Juju's got now 4 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns of 75 plus yards. Right, that's second in Steelers history.
That's the stuff that you need. You need this big play. Deontay Johnson, a great job on the third down catch that was thrown short of the chains on getting the first down on one of those, right?
Yeah, the third and 7. Juke Richard Sherman, a really good corner.
And good job and immediately after Attila Witherspoon left the game, I put on Twitter, go after him, his replacement, and they did. And that was a great play. What did you like specifically about, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks about that play, that touchdown?
Yeah, single high, and like I said, when Rudolph gets the right look, he will take a shot deep. If he doesn't get the right look, he will play it safe. But yeah, just move the safety, kept him to the far hash, looked right to start on his drop back, and then flip back to the left and hit Johnson deep 1-on-1. And Verrett's trailing, he's out of phase, looking at the quarterback playing. Those were his first snaps of the entire season, Jason Verrett's, after Witherspoon went down. So identify the matchup, read the coverage, manipulate the safety, make an on-time throw. A really nice play from Rudolph. I think his best of the day.
True or false? The Steelers are missing Roosevelt Nix at fullback.
I mean, true, because of course, you're missing a piece of your offense, but is this record any different?
Grand scheme of things.
No, false. I mean, is their record any different if Roosevelt Nix is healthy? I mean, probably not.
You go back and look at last year. I'll have to go back and pull these stats up. I don't think they had as many. I think the successful runs were down last year when Roosevelt Nix was in the game.
Yeah. One thing they're missing him for, I thought the punt coverage was pretty poor yesterday. I did not like their coverage ability.
Yeah, they're missing them more on special teams than anything else, I think.
Yeah. And Artie Burns, I think, got pulled for losing contain on one of those plays.
I mean, how many total run plays did they have last year? Look, you gotta run better. That's my motto: run better, not necessarily more. Run better.
Richie James averaged 5 punt returns for 53 yards with a long of 15. That's not good enough. That's really poor by the coverage unit.
I'm trying to think what else we can talk about here. Here's the thing. You have an AFC North game coming up Monday night against the Bengals. Steelers are favored by 4.5 initially on that. Are you surprised by that?
Well, they're the home team, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
that's good for 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it good for 3 even with Rudolph? Rudolph versus Dalton. So look, it's bleak. I mean, it's obviously bleak. It's more bleak than it was going into Sunday's game. There you got all this talent, on the defensive side of football. The defense was on the field a ton, but you got to get one more stop. If you get one more stop there, you win the ball game. And perhaps at least you go into overtime, and then you take your chances there. You get back-to-back games against the AFC North, so if that's the only way you're going to be able to keep the Rosaries out in plain sight is if you win back-to-back games here. Obviously, if you lose to the Bengals, not that it's not already over now, but it's really over. If you lose to the Bengals, you really got to win these next 3 ball games and get yourself to the bye week, and then see what happens there, because the schedule at least does lighten up a little bit there. So if you want your glimmer of hope, you got to win your next 3 ball games, and that looks like just impossible right now.
Yeah, I can't see any scenario where that happens unless this team really turns it around on third down especially. But I'm just trying to win a game right now and trying to beat the Bengals.
And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to look at this thing like, man, let's just get better and beat the Bengals here.
Yep. All right, Dave. Before we get to some reader email, let's talk about our friends over at MyBookie.
Forgot.
Yep.
About our buddies at MyBook. I had another great. I'm on fire right now. If you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or keep on walking? Of course you'd pick it up. You'd probably give it to me so I could take your money and win some money with it. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay when you win. Let's face it, Alex. Where you're betting at is just as important as who you're betting on. I would be telling you guys to bet with MyBookie AG if they weren't the best in the business. Do the smart thing now. If you're going to bet this football season, bet with MyBookie. Did you know you can bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, you can always take the other side of it. If you're the kind of guy or girl that likes to bet a little and win a lot, try the multi-team parlays. If all your picks come through, you'll multiply your winnings. And no matter how you bet, the NFL season is the best time of year to bet. Join now, and mybookie.ag will double your first deposit if you use promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible. Use promo code TERRIBLE to, like the Steelers are so far through games, to activate the offer. That's promo code TERRIBLE. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. You want to bet? We got a lot of angry emails in here, right?
Oh, I'm sure they're not getting any happier.
All right, let's try to run through as many as we can here. Rodney Schuschman writes in, hi guys, where was the quick throw game? 3-step drops, quick rhythm throws, screens, etc. 7 was quickest snap to throw in the NFL last year. Mason had too many long developing plays, in my opinion. Do you Yins think it was him or the scheme? Keep up the great work.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, look at how they opened the game. I would say maybe the reason why these feel long developing is obviously receivers aren't separating like last year. That obviously is a big factor. And then Rudolph taking longer to process, read, knowing where to go with the football. Again, the differences between a 16-year veteran Hall of Fame quarterback versus a guy making his first career start. The ball's not going to get out as quick because you're going to take longer to process and trust yourself and know where to go with the football. So I don't think that was scheme for why the ball took so long to get out of Rudolph's hand in some instances.
Will Fernandez wants to fire some people, Alex. Please fire Butler. Hello, Alex and Dave. The offense overall was pretty miserable yesterday. He wants to fire Butler. He starts off talking about the offense, especially the offensive line. But with all the talents this defense has, they cannot stop anything between the hash marks. In my humble opinion, it has to do with scheme and putting players in the right spot to make plays. I don't like change for change's sake, but you have to admit that something has to change on defense. Can this team please move on from Keith Butler for dadgum's sake? Look, if you're not going to change it after this week, when are you going to change it? But with that said, keep in mind it was a 6-3 game with 9:20 something left, and then the offense, couldn't keep the defense off the field. That's a tiny bit of the problem there.
Yeah, I mean, of Fichtner versus Butler, I thought Butler was the better coordinator of the two yesterday. So my focus is a lot more on what Fichtner did than what Butler did. I didn't think there were any giant schematic issues yesterday defensively. I mean, 49ers made their plays, but it's a good offense. They're going to make their plays. I thought the defense overall was the strength of the two units yesterday.
17 or 16, I put on Twitter that you hear Keith Butler talk about that's the magic number. That's going to have to be the magic number quite a bit the rest of the season, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't expect this offense to put up more than 20 to 25 points a game. I don't think. Yeah,
but unfortunately, unlike 2004, you don't have that elite defense that is capable of doing that, and that's going to get you into trouble.
16 to 17 is going to have to be that number. Maybe you sneak out a win or two here if you give up 20 or 21. Let's see. Jonathan Mason writes in, Alex and Dave, this game was lost by the offense not capitalizing on turnovers and badly losing time of possession battle, which affects the defense. How can this offense improve? Did y'all see any difference in the offensive scheme with Mason versus Ben? All I saw was shotgun all day long. Have to change it up. Mason was under center quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know what the number. You don't have any numbers?
I don't have that broken down yet. But I mean, okay. he's obviously more than was under center a lot more than Ben ever is.
Right, and let's be clear. I mean, I'm all for Rudolph being under center, summon play action, and all that. But it's not like Rudolph is an under center quarterback. I mean, this guy didn't play under center in college at all, so he probably feels most comfortable playing in shotgun as a lot of quarterbacks do. So I just want to at least point that out too.
Danielle Russell's got a question here from Brisbane, Australia. Good day, boys. I wasn't a Steelers fan when Ben started his career. How long would you say it took for him to become able to turn a game around and be a franchise quarterback? How many games will it take to know what Rudolph is? Oh man, I forget. I've gone through that rookie season of Roethlisberger several times here. When was the game that he started really blistering teams down? When he started going downfield a little bit and started connecting a little bit, there was a kind of a light went on moment, I think, for Ben during his rookie season. It obviously wasn't a game against Miami. It was a couple games in. I'll have to go back and look at that. But there was a point, and then some of those Ben plays started to surface as well too, early on there in his rookie season.
Well, in 2004, they had that stretch where they beat the Patriots and the Eagles back-to-back games and went both those teams undefeated or had really good records. I don't remember how well Ben played in both of those games. My first memory, not my first memory, but like the first game that came to mind when you asked that question was, I know this is the next season, but that 2005 championship game against Denver where they came out throwing and everyone thought they were going to be this rushing attack, and they came out throwing. They got on Denver early, and that just kind of felt like, okay, Ben can run the show.
I think we have here the bias, right? I mean, the instant kind of let's compare him to Ben. And that's dangerous to do right now.
Well, is that question comparing him to Ben? I think the question is just trying to say, like, how long is it going to take to know what this team has in Rudolph? Trying to see how long it took to know what this team had whenever Ben.
It depends on how they start letting him do more things. You can't. I don't think you can quantify that.
But is it fair to say by the end of the year you'll kind of know?
Oh yeah, obviously you should, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay, so that's fair. Yeah. I'm not going to put after 4 games, this is what Rudolph is,
No,
But I'll
no.
you have the whole season anyway, so it's not like he's not going to get benched at any point. Ben's not coming back, so take the whole season. Let's see the whole thing in context, and we'll evaluate after the year.
Well, you slowly like to start seeing them put more on him.
Of course, yeah, and I'm sure that they will. I hope that they will.
And then move forward from there. Look, Ben, first career start, 12 of 22, 163 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception there.
Yeah. But again, that was, I know you're going to say, context, but it was a driving rain. It was a hurricane performance, not 64 and sunny in San Fran.
Let's see here where my questions go. Okay, and Tony Amos, let's see, slips just to let's see. Good morning, Dave, guys. Whew, quite a night. I'm keeping the faith. Nothing wrong with these Steelers players. Thanks for the reply yesterday. Also, this season, something different about live game threads. How they, I think this is more about. Do you check 1,000 actually? No, this is more about site comment issues here. Joshua Dicker writes in, hey guys, so first off, I saw Alex's Twitter reply to a post about scheme or execution, and he said it doesn't matter when you're 0-3, it's both. As a diehard Steeler fan, history has us down as one of the big powerhouse teams in the AFC, but right now we're looking like the 2017 Browns. Defense stepped up huge, but what's going on with the offense? Why is the third down conversion so hard for these guys? I think Butler might have saved his job with this performance, thanks to Minka. But what if the offense? What is with the offense at this point? I think is what he meant to write. What are Steeler fans supposed to be thinking right now? What are we supposed to be feeling right now? Thanks, guys. Love the pod. You're supposed to be thinking you got a young quarterback in there. I think some people are expecting a little bit, maybe too much from Mason, right?
I don't know. I mean, again, with the way the quarterbacks are today, they can come in and they can play well right away. I think you have a lot of evidence of that. So, I mean, if you're expecting him to be the next Ben Roethlisberger immediately, then your expectations are too high. But I think you can expect more than what you got yesterday. Is that fair?
Look, I mean, you got a young quarterback in there. That's what you have going on. I mean, I don't know what people kind of expected here.
But you still have young quarterbacks play at a high level.
At a higher level, but I mean, you got to allow them to do more too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rudolph left a lot of plays out there. I'm not going to blame all of it on Feetner not letting them do.
No, I already said it. You got to make that interception was a forced football. The miss to McDonald was brutal as well. And what did I say on the show the other day, Alex? He's going to make his mistakes.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a long scope to look at him. You got a whole season still to check him out. But you can have high expectations for him. You should have high expectations for him. The team should have high expectations for Mason Rudolph.
Your expectations should be that you should see him progress.
Yeah, definitely.
Lewis Grove writes in, we all share the same pain. On a positive note, this young D will only get better. 7 takeaways in 2 weeks is a result of talent, not scheme. If we are playing young talent ahead of vets at most positions, why not let UG3 play in lieu of Barron? Last question. Alex has often criticized the offense for relying on wide receiver 1 versus 1 talent, wide receiver. WR1 versus 1 talent rather than scheme to win. Please explain the difference. When I watch most top offensive play, their receivers are open by 3 yards. Conversely, our receivers appear somewhat blanket. Is scheme an issue or talent an issue? Hey, look, it's a little bit of both. They're not getting the separation. One, and you're going to have to scheme. You're going to have to do a better job of scheming those guys open.
Yeah, when I say 1 versus 1, the routes being independent of each other, I just mean, if you're running it's all vertical concept, or you just having everyone go deep, or you're just having everyone run kind of similar routes, and they're not putting defenders in conflict, then you're just banking on your receiver winning that individual matchup, that someone's able to create separation and get open. When you run stuff, conceptually in scheme, where you might, like a mesh concept, for example, is a very easy one to point to. We talk about it a lot, but a mesh concept to beat man coverage, it may not be someone winning on pure talent, but the scheme where it's man coverage and those guys get picked and that creates space that way, or a levels concept, as you talked about, Dave, or a spot concept where it's an easy triangle read to beat zone coverage, or something like that, where you have a curl route, a flat route, and a corner route that's going to help maybe exploit a hole in the scheme or put a defender in conflict like that. So that's what I mean when you say these routes have to be dependent on each other, where someone's going to get open just based off of the scheme, not just hoping that someone wins one-on-one, because the talent there isn't there to be able to win one-on-one the way you could last year when you had AB and Juju.
Some cell concepts, some smash concepts. You're just going to have to do a better job. Some mirror. Start mirroring the sides there. Have them pick a side.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do a better job overall, making it not only expanding the offense a little bit, but allowing Rudolph to go a little bit further down the field with it on top of it. Richard Gamir writes in, hey guys, I'm sure you're getting a lot of negative questions and feedback regarding the results of the game, but I have a logistical question for you regarding coaching. Since Butler runs the defense and has since LeBeau retired, and Feetner runs the offense, and Danny Smith runs the special teams, I'm just curious about Mike Tomlin's role as it pertains to his position. What is it? This is an Office Space commercial. I mean, question, I guess. What exactly does Mike Tomlin do?
Is he talking on game day? Is he talking?
I guess, yeah. He says, what is his role as it pertains to the game day and non-game day operations of the team? Obviously, we're not behind closed doors, but there's a lot of meetings, I'm sure. There's a lot of visiting with each unit and going over and kind of building the game plans and stuff like that. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what you said. I mean, obviously he has a much bigger influence and role in the defensive game plan than he does the offensive game plan, being a defensive minded coach, that being his upbringing. On game day, it's a lot of situational football challenges going forward. I'm sure there are suggestions that he makes to both sides of the football about, do X more, or whatever the situation may be. I can't give you, obviously, a concrete answer. I'm sure it varies week to week and just depends on the needs of the team. But that's my vague answer for you.
Richard ends up here saying, thanks, guys. Love the show. 0-3 isn't a death sentence. We still have a puncher's chance. So he's a little optimistic on this Monday here. Rob Peterson writes in, is it stupid for me to still have faith? Oh, Rob's optimistic as well, too. Is it dumb for me to still see 9 to 10 wins on the board for this season? And depending on which games they win, still possible for the AFC North title. I'm not a believer of the Browns or Cincy. I think they can split the Baltimore series. Thanks, Rob from Texas. Let's roll through the schedule real quick here, Alex. We already talked about 2 big games coming up against AFC North teams, right?
Yep.
Bengals and Ravens. Can this team beat the Bengals, Alex?
Yeah, they can.
All right, Ravens. That's tough,
I don't know.
right?
That's a good team. They're not stopping the run like they should. I'll be. This is me being generous. I think they'll be one of the Bengals or the Ravens. Much more likely the Cincinnati, but I'll assume they get at least one win out of that.
Going 3-0 in the next 3 games against the Bengals, Ravens, and Chargers seems unthinkable.
Yeah, not because those teams are so Herculean, but this team is so bad right now.
So un-Herculean.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
What if they do go 3-0 heading into the bye?
And then where's
your head at 3? Where's your head at 3-3?
I don't know. Ask me after 3-3. I mean, they turned around on third down. They turned around on third down. They're playing better.
Because look, you come out of that bye and you have the Dolphins and the Colts. That's not horrible.
Colts are hanging in there. Again, this team lost when they had 5 takeaways. If they can't win a game where they have 5 takeaways, how many games are they going to win?
The next 2 games obviously are crucial here. Rob,
they were gifted. I'm getting mad here, but they were gifted Sunday's win. You can't draw that up any better, and you still can't beat. The 49ers are a decent team, but they are not the Patriots. You have 5 turnovers, and you can't win. The last 37 games, this team has won when creating at least 5 turnovers. How bad of a team must you be when you have that streak and that record, and you still can't pull out a victory?
Got to capitalize on the turnovers, plain and simple. Other than 3 points, and they just didn't do that. Bryce writes in, hi guys, Bryce here. Some good things in the game, but way too much bad football. Some thoughts for Yin. Mark Barron seems like a player who has really great straight line speed, but doesn't move well enough in space to impact the game coverage. He's like a track guy, but not an athlete. I've never got the feeling that Mark Barron was a track guy. Did you?
Yeah, I don't think I would. He does not have great straight line speed. Not anymore, at least. He's 30.
Having said that, do you think this could be the beginning of seeing an inside linebacker rotation of Bush, UG3, and Vince when he gets back healthy? Your thoughts? I don't think you're going to see UG3. I think once Vince gets healthy, you'll see him back. What they need to do is they need to get themselves where they're able to get these opposing defenses in these must-pass situations where they can get in a dime with Bush and Sutton on the field, I think.
Yeah, run defense has to be better. Yeah, I get, wanting to play the rookies and the new guys because you haven't seen them and how much worse can they be. But
a few more losses and you will.
Yeah, a few more losses and we're going to be talking about trade scenarios for Javon Hargrave here. We're getting to that point really quickly. But they're not going to make those changes. You want to put players in position to succeed. A rookie, if he's not ready, you're not going to play him for the sake of playing him. Not now anyway.
No, you're not going to see UG3 for a while now. Maybe at some point, if you get to that point, then that means the losses have really piled up really, really quickly there. Number 2, Randy Fichtner had a very odd quote a couple weeks ago that he lost his nerve a little bit to call more runs when Connor got stopped on 3rd and goal and short. While he's an experienced coach, he's very inexperienced as a play caller and strategist in the OC role. I'm not down on him per se, but do you think the inexperience as a play caller is causing some unfortunate growing pains with the offense, particularly now that he's lost some of the bigger name talent? Look, I could have done without Randy Fichtner. Said he kind of lost his nerve a couple of games ago, or first game when that run failed. I didn't like hearing that. No.
I can appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the candor. We always say
I don't need to see sometimes how the sausage is made, Alex.
You're not liking these comments from Tomlin about Deshaun Davis injury and
sometimes I don't forthright. Sometimes you just don't need.
I will say this as well. Fichtner is pretty, only second year as OC in the NFL. He called games at Memphis and I think at Arkansas State too. So he's not new to calling games in general. So in that scenario, in him losing his nerve, I don't think that's an excuse. His greenness, because he's called games at the college level before where he's probably had those circumstances and mistakes that he could, come back from.
I mean, you're fine with him staying on script essentially in those first, settling. We talked about early in the game, settling your quarterback in. I thought you had to do that.
Yeah, I was fine with that. I know people yelled at for the first drive, and maybe in the larger context of the entire game, it makes more sense of criticism. But I was fine with it initially, and I'm pretty sure Rudolph probably shouldn't have thrown that screen on second down. I think it was probably a bad read on it was an RPO, and he probably should have handed it off. And the corner made a nice play too, but I was fine with the sequence of events there. You needed 3 points.
Yeah, people say the runs are predictable. Quite a few of these are RPOs where the quarterback decides that.
Right. Yeah.
Number 3, great to see the turnovers, but I count 3 of those as being 49ers beating 49ers. Yeah, Alex and I already talked about that. So having said that, it seems that Keith Butler can't dial up the calls and schemes in crucial situations to get teams off the field. Look, I mean, they gave up some third downs. Alex and I went over the third downs. There's some third downs that they've got to be able to get off the field on. They didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, this isn't new through 3 weeks of the season here. Mark Roman, coaches. The time is near for Keith Butler and Randy Fichtner. The talent on defense is there for sure. There's a highly paid offensive line as well. They are already in no man's zone as far as playoffs are concerned. They're not going to be there. This team doesn't have it totally together. Maybe they will, but it'll be too late by then. They must change this offseason, if not before, or else it will be SOS. Mark, do you really think this team is going to fire any coaches during the regular season? Alex, do you think this team's going to fire any coaches during the regular season?
No. When was the last time they fired a coordinator in season? Well, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, but maybe before you were born.
Honestly, I mean, I know Haley probably had one foot out the door at the end of his tenure. We kind of probably knew, but I mean, someone tell me. I mean, Tim Lewis? Did Tim Lewis get fired midseason? I don't know.
I have to look. I mean, it don't matter because they're
Tim Lewis was a coordinator, right? I mean, I'm just trying to think back.
Yeah, defensive coordinator.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, look, you got a young quarterback in there, guys. Too. Keep that in mind. I mean, it's not the entire excuse. The defense has played. Once again, it was a 6-3 game. 9:21 left in the third quarter. If that offense had put up some points at that point, probably you've seen a little bit different 49ers offense from the third quarter on there. So it was probably the best. It was the best game that the Steelers defense has played to date. I know it's not saying much, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if the offense just could have the ball for longer than a commercial break, I think that would be helpful too.
Yeah, I mean, a minute what?
Minute 50 on their 13 drives.
Jeff Shearer writes in, can't wait to see how you guys spin the latest loss. I'm not sure we spun it anyway, have we? Have we spun it? Have we spun anything?
Well, that's for the listener to decide, I guess.
The Mike Tomlin era continues to set records for mediocrity, from consistently losing to sub-500 teams to getting 5 turnovers and still losing. Yep, keep telling us how good a coach, blah, blah, blah. Jeff Shearer. I mean...
Have we done that today?
I don't know. Have we talked about how good of a coach he is? Blah blah blah.
I don't think so.
Okay, Matt Smith writes in, howdy fellas, as I sit here licking my wounds again, I want to get your thoughts on James Conner's future now that his late game fumbles have likely cost the Steelers 3 wins since the start of 2018, Cleveland and Denver last year, San Francisco on Sunday. Do you expect his untimely fumbling problem to potentially be the deciding factor next Sunday when the team has to make to extend or not a decision to not extend him? Look, he's not helping his cause right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, his last 2 years have been marred by a lot of fumbles. Whether that's Cleveland or Denver or what happened yesterday. That's his biggest flaw in his game right now are the fumbles.
For a guy that's potentially wanting an $8 million or more per season contract next offseason, this is not a great start for him this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Got to get a lot better. Let's worry about next offseason. Connor question here from Matt. He writes in, is James Conner not a regular down back? From his lack of effective playmaking so far this season to fumbling late in games, it seems he just doesn't have that complete factor. Is he Le'Veon Bell complete? No,
but I think he's a complete back. I think last year, I don't want to forget about what he did last year. I think he showed he can pass protect, he can catch, he can run the football. I know it's easy to say, to be super critical right now because of how poor things are going, and the fumble is unacceptable, and there's just a bad play overall, and that's again a big issue. But in terms of is he a complete back? Yes, he is. He's got to take care of the football, but he can block, he can catch, he can run.
Got a lot of recency bias going on here, right?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Chris Bailey writes in, "Hi, David Alex. I've been enjoying the podcast from England for the past 2 years. So glad I found it. You make me laugh and don't waste your time with BS and hypotheticals. My question is, do you have a feel for how much Ben is in the facility helping Mason and has been allowed to be there on game day to fulfill the same role? Well, Ben reportedly was not at that game yesterday, but that's probably not overly surprising, especially if he's about to have something go on with that elbow, right?"
Yeah, we should note, I should have said, Adam Schefter reported, no Tommy John surgery expected for Ben. Now, he still will have surgery. I want to be clear about that. He will have surgery, just not Tommy John. Team expects a full recovery for 2020. So maybe we'll get more information this week because the surgery should be happening this week. But that's the latest update on Big Ben.
Isn't it more of a muscle tear? Isn't that kind of what they're kind of framing this now as?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, I think you added that after. It's not a tendon or a ligament, it's a muscle. Is that what the report was?
I think that was the one from
Locking for
or something like that. Maybe we'll learn more after it actually happens and find out exactly what happened instead of trying to speculate.
But that would be a good thing if it's a muscle.
Sure.
I'm not Dr. Mel, but I'm pretty sure it's a good thing if it's a muscle, not a ligament or a tendon.
But Mason talked about how much help he got from Ben this past week, didn't he? I mean, we don't know how much Ben's in there.
Yeah, I could not tell you. He's got a rehab. He's going to have a surgery, so he may not be around a lot this week. I'm sure he'll still have a presence in some capacity, though.
I mean, I don't want to say, well, he was in there X amount of hours. I mean, because some things we just don't know. Idaho Vandals. Oh,
hey,
roll potatoes. Travis Merriman writes in, "Hey guys, this question is for Alex. I'm simply curious as to why Alex seems to be an Idaho Vandals fan. I am a University of Idaho alum and a diehard Steelers fan. I listen to every one of the terrible podcasts, so I find it very interesting when I see Alex following the Vandals on Twitter. Keep up the good work. I don't mind 2-hour episodes. Go Steelers." Why are you a Go Potatoes fan?
The hottest team in college football, upsetting number 11 Eastern Washington. What was it, 35-27? It's a dumb story. I think I've told it before. I was sick home from school one day, got on ESPN3, the app where they archive old college football games, and I just threw on an Idaho game because I just wanted to watch something. I liked their quarterback, Nathan Enderle. I liked their head coach at the time, Rob Akey, because he just sounded like that big, gravelly, coacher's kind of voice. And they played in the Dome, the Kibbe Dome. It was fun. I didn't have a college team, so I was like, all right. This is a fun team, and they were actually decent way back when. So that's where it came from, and played NCAA 14 with a franchise mode, dynasty mode with Idaho, and that was fun. So it just kind of stuck. I'm weird.
Was 14 the one with that soundtrack? Which was the great soundtrack?
Yeah. Did you play it? Yeah, you're right. Did you play?
I mean, I'm just a little bit, but
okay, cool. Yeah, that had the old like 90s punk rock soundtrack. Yeah, that was a good soundtrack.
All right. Mark writes in, "Dave and Alex, I've been with the site and podcast since 2009. Rarely post, usually draft related, never email. Met Alex briefly at training camp a few years ago. Thank you both for caring so much about what you do. I like your quick thoughts. One, will Mason Rudolph or Jacoby Brissett have a better year?" Oh, I haven't even looked at Brissett's numbers, man.
I think he's having a good year. They got the update. I don't know if it was an upset, but they beat Atlanta yesterday. I mean, Brissett's more experienced. He's
I would expect Brissett to have the better year, right?
See how long T.Y. Hilton's out for. I know he left yesterday's game.
While you ponder that, do you think Daniel McCullers' improvement allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers to feel confident enough to have Javon Hargrave money and put it into another position? What Juju deals? No, I just think it's position based, and what Hargrave, you can't, you got all these linemen making over $10 million a year, right? I mean, as much as we'd like to see Hargrave get the money, it's hard to justify that money when you can only play him 55% of the snaps, right? How many snaps did Hargrave play yesterday?
I'm not sure. He's playing some defensive end this year. They're kind of moving around a little bit.
We expected that, though. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I really hadn't seen it before. I don't know if I was expecting it personally.
58% of the snaps.
Yeah, well, they're getting good rotation, keeping guys fresh. But yeah, I think assuming this thing doesn't turn around, just to kind of bounce off of this, and we'll talk about it more in depth when the trade deadline comes up. Trading Javon Hargrave is a smart play here, assuming this team's out of it by trade deadline time, week 8.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hypothetical that we received in that email last week might be coming into play sooner than we thought. So,
yeah, and I'm not saying you're going to get a first-round pick for him. You're probably not, but you should at least get a third-round pick for him. Maybe something else, third and a fifth.
Yeah, you just accelerate what you would get from the compensatory by a year. But,
yeah, but you get that guaranteed. You get it now, and you get it
sure.
a higher pick than what the comp pick would be, because that's going to be at the back of the end of the third round.
Yeah, not a loss or two. If you go 3-3 these next 3-0 in these next 3 games, though, you're not dealing them, are you?
No, but you're gonna really think this thing's gonna go 3-0 the next 3 weeks?
I mean, no, but strangers. Look, I think they can. I think they can beat the Bengals. I think they'll have a fighter's chance against Baltimore. I worry about that defense against. I'm not so much worried about the Chargers' defense as I am that Chargers' offense.
Yeah, again, they can win these games, but we said they could win against Seattle, they could win against San Francisco, and it just isn't happening. They're finding ways to lose.
They actually got to win some of the games we think they can win.
Maybe. I hope.
Will the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade make us feel like the Jerome Bettis trade or Chris Archer trade in 3 years? I think you just got to look at it year by year, man. I mean, look, it paid dividends already, so there you go.
But like I said, this will be judged by the overall pick the Steelers have, and obviously it's trending towards having a top 10 pick as opposed to something in the 20s.
I love your thoughts. Thanks again for being for us there in good times and bad. Mark, how about one more here? If I can find one here. Let's see. James Constantino writes in. Hi, David Knox. James Constantino here. I'm a long-time fan of the podcast in Omaha. I've been a Steelers fan for 40 years, and the two of you have enhanced my enjoyment as a fan. Now we're thanks for that, James. And now we're really going to be tasked with trying to enhance your enjoyment as a fan at 0-3. What do you see as the odds of the Fitzpatrick trade having the same impact as the Ferrier trade? In other words, solidifying a defense with a ton of potential. Not having Dick LeBeau might make a difference there too. I'm not big in trying to quantify these things in the way past things have happened, right? I mean, Ferrier was a unique situation because he was actually a free agent, right? And left for dead effectively as a former first round draft pick, and came in and was a good fit in didn't he come out of a 4-3 scheme into a 3-4 scheme? As well. I think that was huge in there. So, I think it's dangerous to try to take this Fitzpatrick trade, especially when he plays, free safety and all, and try to quantify it as him potentially making the same kind of impact as the Ferrier deal,
Yeah, it's always tough to try to do those comparisons, especially with different positions. I understand the point that's being asked here. I think you just view it as a need for the short term with the Davis injury, and the long term, assuming that Davis is going to be gone after this year, and that you are going to have to take a safety high had you not made this trade and Davis walked. So I think we kind of talked about all those things in the podcast where we discussed the trade. I can't give you a good answer about where this is going to fall. I think history is just going to be our guide on that one.
Look, if we're at the end of this season and the Steelers have a top 10 pick and Mason Rudolph has, crapped the bed, so to speak, it's going to be hard to look back at this as being favorable. But in the meantime, you have to take it for what it is and look at Fitzpatrick's play on a week-to-week basis, and that alone. And so far, I mean, look, one game, it's hard not to like what he's brought to the defense already.
Right. And even if Rudolph struggles, again, I know the national media is going to miss this point, but Ben's coming back for next year and 2021 at the minimum. So I think even if Rudolph had struggled or does struggle, you weren't taking a quarterback anyway because Ben's still going to be your guy.
Number 2, why is it such a big deal that the Steelers' first losing streak happened to fall on the first 2 weeks of the season? This was obviously written before the game last night. Streak happened. Let's see. They typically have a 2 to 4 game losing streak during the seasons when they make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs with Ben and Brown last year. So how can their odds diminish drastically? Well, you don't have Ben right now. That means a lot, and you don't have until we see more out of this defense. You're like I said, you're only going to have this defense can only allow 16 to 17 points. That magic number that Keith Butler has constantly talked about for years has really got to start coming into play here. I think if you want to win some games right now, really everybody should be at the point where you just take it game by game and let's evaluate the game and the players involved in that game and how the win or loss happened and move on to the next week. And unless they start stacking wins, that's where we're at in this thing.
And that's why it's hard to be optimistic, because this defense has to play at an elite level, and they aren't an elite defense. They still allowed 24 points in the game where they had 5 takeaways. How often are they going to be able to hold teams under 20 points? Probably not that often. How well is this offense really going to play crisp, clean, and efficient? Probably not that often. So you're just kind of hoping for 1 or 2 big plays, some fluke, some luck. And how often are you going to get that this year? And that's why it's hard to be optimistic right now.
I mean, they have elite, consider what's considered elite pedigree talent on that defensive side of the ball. They're just not getting elite play out of that. So people will say, well, then there's your problem. Keith Butler's not getting out. Okay, fine. But if you're going to make if you're at that point and you're Steelers and you're at that point, if you're thinking to yourself, man, okay, we got talent on this team. Why isn't this defense playing better? And then you're going to circle back to Mike Tomlin saying, well, the offense got to be in concert with defense, yada, yada. Look, if you think coaching is the problem right now, make the change. Go ahead and turn this thing over to Terrell Austin. Would you be opposed to them doing that right now?
I'm not opposed to it because, like I said, I wanted to fire Butler after last season.
Then do it. Then they should do it. Okay. What do you have to lose right now? You're not going to bring somebody in from the outside, right?
No, we talked about that. We agree.
I mean, we talk about it. It seems like we talk about that every year when they get off to a whatever start. Okay, since LeBeau has been gone, everybody wants to fire. What do you have to lose by going from Butler to Austin right now?
Not much. I just don't.
What do you have to gain?
I mean, I guess the improvement of this defense, better schematic play. I mean, all the things you would hope to gain by an improved defense. I mean, obviously, that's why you're making a change. I don't focus much on firings right now because I know they're not going to happen, and it's fruitless to think about that right now.
But it's the most conceivable thing to happen, though, right?
The most conceivable thing to happen,
right? You can envision if anything happens, it would be that.
Yeah, because if you're firing Fichtner, then like who's being promoted? I mean,
right,
there really aren't any candidates.
Side. You're right.
Yeah. But again, I guess I just know it's not going to happen this week, and I'm just focused on the individual and schematic issues of how to fix the stuff in the here and now, the stuff that can and will be done, fixing the issues as opposed to the firing. Not that I like Keith Butler, but it's just I know that it's not going to happen right now, and I'm not going to waste my energy talking about that.
All right, I think we hit it. Well, one last one just came in from Matt RAAB. Matt Rob. Hi, guys. Thanks for the great content, as always. I've heard over and over again, before and after Sunday's game against the Niners, that the Steelers don't play well when they travel to the West Coast. Clearly, this has to be a coaching issue, as they have different guys on the 53 every year, and I don't think they just happen to draft and sign players who can't handle jet lag. All these issues this coaching staff has, shouldn't this be the easiest to correct? Just look at what teams do who are more successful when traveling to the West Coast and do that. How complicated can it be? When to wake up, when to go to bed, when to drink their coffee? There are only so many moving parts. Or maybe it's just a mindset that they can't shake. It feels similar to what you guys talked about when it comes to defensive communication. It's just accepted that the defense will always have communication problems at the beginning of the year, and the defense will struggle when traveling to the West Coast. That's just the way it is. Any thoughts? They left at 9-something in the morning, didn't they? East Coast time, the last couple of times now. I mean, the last 2 trips they went to Oakland, and here they left at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're trying to play the whole head game of let's keep our bodies on East Coast time. Did that make a difference? Is that why they lost?
I don't know. It's not in the top 10 factors for me from this game. I think they've tried a lot of different things. Nothing's really worked in that aspect, so I don't know if that's really the issue at this point.
How many more West Coast games do they have this year? What, the Rams?
Do they go to Arizona, or does Arizona come here?
Let's see here. They have. Oh, I'm sorry. They're at the Chargers. The Rams come to Pittsburgh, and they go to Arizona.
Yeah, so 2.
So, and Arizona late. I don't know. That young quarterback's starting to come into his own a little bit, isn't he?
That's what I'm saying. These young quarterbacks, they can make plays. They can be exciting
Yeah,
where they're not in the shell anymore.
Set them up a little bit to actuate their positives, right?
Yeah. All right, Dave. I think that's
all right. We will be back on Wednesday after, unfortunately, looking at the All-22. We'll try to have a beat writer on, our buddy from the Bengals, who covers the Bengals, to start previewing the Steelers' Monday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to help the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button up right navigational bar. If you want a ad-free version of the site, want to help us out in the same breath there, you can go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button for $25 for 1 calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. Have a lot of people really enjoying that feature, and a lot of people taking us up on that lately. We appreciate that as well, too. We'll do our best to try to get some more things to break down for you by Wednesday. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.